When someone says, "I would like to have done so and so and so," I respond, "It could have been done by someone. I was unable to leave this place." Morgan Freeman's history shines like pure Hollywood gold, from Million Dollar Baby to The Shawshank Redemption. However, he had to put up with 7 actors who compromised their devotion in order to gain notoriety. They belittled the respect he lives by, invaded his boundaries, and betrayed his trust. Freeman also didn't remain mute this time. He gave them names. These weren't just any co-workers. He used to be pals with some of the top stars in Hollywood. You won't believe number 7 when you discover who made the list, so stay tuned. The comedy that went too far was Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy was the first name on Morgan Freeman's blacklist, which was unexpected. That is a grudge that never went away, according to those close to Freeman. Their disagreement sprang from Freeman's greatest value, respect for the craft, rather than from ego or celebrity. It took place on the set of the 2003 movie Bruce Almighty, which combined 2 legendary figures with diametrically opposed personalities. Calm and methodical, Freeman played God. Murphy was like an open mic on the set. The production went smoothly at first, but a week later things went haywire. He was late, abruptly altered the dialogue, and took over scenes intended for balance. Crew members recalled Freeman's countenance, which was caught between amazement and tiredness, as he waited patiently through failed takes. Murphy made a joke in the middle of one poignant sequence, which made the crew giggle. "You think this is a comedy?" Freeman remarked simply without smiling. "It seems to me that the story is about faith." Their relationship ended with that line. Later on, director Tom Sodziak acknowledged that Freeman asked for additional structure for the remainder of the shoot, gently diverting from Murphy's enthusiasm. Freeman said, "He's talented," when asked if he appreciated working with his co-star during the promotion. "He doesn't always listen, though." Murphy inquired about a sequel after the film's premiere. Freeman declined right away. According to Freeman, discipline is necessary for art. In his view, Murphy transformed the sacred into a circus. Mel Gibson, you won't believe who is second on Freeman's hate list when brilliance turns toxic. Yes, that would be Mel Gibson, whom he had previously commended for his skill behind the camera. It began with appreciation, almost reverence. Freeman recognized a bold storyteller in him. The intellect that gave the world courage. "Gibson," he said, "makes courage look cinematic." However, that admiration quickly dissolved. Gibson was scheduled to direct a historical project during discussions in the mid-2000s. After receiving an early draft, Freeman saw sections that were rife with political overtones and religious bias. If Gibson intended to keep them, he inquired courteously. Gibson's response was incisive. "It is my reality." Everything changed at that point. "A story isn't yours when it belongs to history," Freeman replied, pushing the screenplay aside. Then followed the slurs, the videos, the drunken outbursts, and the public scandals. Freeman just vanished from Gibson's group, refusing to join in the yelling. Freeman subsequently declined 2 Gibson projects, according to producer Brian Grazer, including one that aims to bring Oscar winners back together. Grazer muttered, "Morgan thinks movies should heal, not divide." In 2010, Freeman responded surgically when a reporter asked if they might ever collaborate again. "Characterless brilliance is dangerous intelligence." Freeman has since stayed away from every celebration, activity, and undertaking associated with Gibson's name. Kevin Costner's box office blunder. Kevin Costner, who was previously praised as a member of Hollywood royalty, comes in third on Freeman's list. On TV, their chemistry appeared easy, but behind the camera, control and ego caused their relationship to break down. As soon as the cameras started rolling on Robin Hood and Prince of Thieves in 1991, the rift started. Morgan Freeman has joined in anticipation of a well-balanced partnership between established talent and up-and-coming talent. Instead, he discovered a battleground of egos. Costner, who had just finished Dancing with Wolves, was in charge of everything. Freeman, however, frequently waited while Costner and the director quarreled over trivial matters. Every hold-up felt disrespectful. By the third week, civility had given way to quiet. Freeman's methodical cadence clashed with Costner's triple identity as an actor, producer, and unofficial director. He insisted on countless retakes that prioritized his appearance over narrative. At last, Freeman addressed him in private. "A director was employed by you," he said, "let him direct." The words became viral as they were produced. Their grins and interviews concealed intense hatred when the movie became a box office success. Costner gave sheer American vision credit for the success at a BBC appearance, which Freeman subsequently referred to as the moment he erased everyone else. After that film, they never got back together. Later Costner initiatives were rejected by Freeman, who described them as reminders of unresolved issues. Will Smith, the calculating charm. The fourth seat is occupied by Will Smith. And it's due to something colder rather than a beginning explosion. In private, Morgan Freeman once described him as a man who grinned as he measured the space. Mutual appreciation marked the beginning of their relationship. Smith's discipline was respected by Freeman. Smith held Freeman's legacy in high regard. However, Freeman noticed more of what he called calculated earnestness the longer they were together in Hollywood. It began in the middle of the 2000s during award season. In interviews, Smith frequently brought up Freeman, referring to him as a mentor, an inspiration, and even the type of artist he aspires to be. At first, Freeman was grateful for it. Until he became aware that the friendship was primarily public. Behind the scenes, Smith disregarded Freeman's advice and leveraged the link to improve his own reputation. He sought advice on screenplays, but if it meant a higher salary, he went in a different route. Freeman once told producer Jerry Bruckheimer that Smith was acting all the time, even when he wasn't on camera. Smith presented Freeman to the audience at a Los Angeles charity dinner as his mentor in performance and patience. Freeman gave a courteous grin and departed early. "I don't teach opportunism," he claimed to his driver. The pivotal moment occurred when Smith disregarded Freeman's cautions about selecting After Earth, a project Freeman felt would harm his reputation. Smith stayed away from him entirely after the film's failure. Freeman's remark later struck a profound chord. Without ever having to search for it, Will was able to master the appearance of depth. Since then, the two guys have hardly ever greeted each other at events, never worked together, and never shared a stage. The idol who crumbled was Charlie Sheen. It started with admiration, and Charlie Sheen ends up at number 5. Charlie Sheen once had the raw ability that Morgan Freeman believed had the potential to completely transform a generation. However, what began as interest evolved into repulsion. Freeman's tacit admiration for Sheen had crumbled by the late 1990s due to upheaval, addiction, and controversy. All of Freeman's values, discipline, focus, respect, and Sheen, were destroyed. Freeman saw what insiders referred to as the circus during early attempts at cooperation. Sheen missed rehearsals and arrived late. Forgot lines and made fun of how serious the task was. While Sheen delivered jokes rather than scenes, crew members remembered Freeman sitting quietly on stage, waiting. This was a betrayal for Freeman, whose experience on stage required the highest level of professionalism. When Sheen's public outburst in 2011 prompted the suspension of production, it was the tipping point. When questioned in private, Freeman said icily, "Talent without discipline is just waste, and waste eventually contaminates everything around it." Sheen had proven to him that unbridled charisma ruins not just careers but also the lives of those around you. Thus, Freeman never again spoke to Sheen or brought up his name in public. The volcano that destroyed bridges was Russell Crowe. The man ranked 6th on Freeman's list is well known for explosions, the actual ones, not the ones in movies. Crowe, Russell. Crew members claimed that you could sense the tension before the cameras even rolled during their first collaboration. Freeman showed up on set composed, having committed every phrase to memory. Like a storm cloud, Crowe gave commands, corrected the director, changed the lighting, and referred to it as creative energy. For Freeman, it was chaos masquerading as brilliance. Crowe questioned Freeman's interpretation of a crucial sequence, claiming it lacked emotional violence, and that's when the conflict started. "Emotion doesn't have to scream to be felt," Freeman said softly. The director took Freeman's side, and that was that. Crowe grinned and repeated the take his way. Crow began viewing every setup as a power struggle after that. Later, Ridley Scott, who had directed both men independently, said that he could see Morgan's patience ebbing. He doesn't speak louder, but you can tell when he's finished talking. Freeman hardly acknowledged Crow in between scenes by week 4. Any disagreement was drowned out by their silence. The press tour followed. Younger performers are more honest than those who practice everything, Crow told a London magazine. It was deemed an apparent jab by fans. Freeman said nothing. However, insiders later discovered his verdict. Russell thought being challenging meant being profound. There hasn't been a reunion, a handshake, or a courteous nod on the red carpet since. The pupil who lost the respect of his teacher was Matt Damon. The fallout between Matt Damon and Morgan Freeman may be the most subtly devastating of them, but he finishes the list. Everything appeared flawless when filming for Invictus started in 2009. Nelson Mandela's narrative is told by two Oscar-caliber performers who are bound together by mutual respect and a common goal. Things became chilly behind the courteous grins. It began modestly. After big smashes like The Bourne Ultimatum and The Departed, Damon showed up on set with a swagger that bordered on haughtiness. According to crew colleagues, he purposefully moved ahead of Freeman and offered assistance without being asked. And sometimes brushed off Freeman's subdued advice. Damon reportedly rolled his eyes when Freeman called a cut mid-scene to reset the tone for the first time. Everyone took notice. He noted that Freeman did not explode. He joked, "I had to grow my own beard after waiting for that young man's ego to catch up," during an interview intended to foster unity on set a few days later. The laugh was not warm, but it sounded courteous. The electricity between them then became frozen. There were no preparations for a reunion or amicable rap shots by the end of production. The two have never worked together since Invictus. That concludes the video for today. Which one most surprised you? For more behind-the-scenes glimpses, leave a comment, hit like, and subscribe.